I messed up again. God, this is... Okay, here is a drone. I'm having trouble. This is becoming very difficult. It's a drone. I fucked up again. What could be better than a standard 5-inch Freestyle drone? But in the video today, we're gonna check out a new drone. All right, so here's my new drone. How does it look? Not put together, yeah. I wanted to do a custom build myself with my own parts that I picked out. I've never actually built my own drone. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna build a drone, and I figured I would film it and hopefully fly it, and hopefully it doesn't, go up in smoke or, crash and explode and whatever. We'll see if I even make it that far, right? I'll try to make it quick and, not too tedious, but it is a build video, so it is gonna be a longer video. If you guys, stick around to watch it, I appreciate it. Let's run through the parts real quick and see what all we got. So we can start with our frame here, I guess. This is the Gep RC Phantom 2.5 inch. Bottom plate, top plate, and you've got your side plates where your camera will mount. Comes with some 3D prints for antennas, some antenna tubes and caps, the hardware, and an XT30 lead. Next up is the motors. So we are doing a 3S build. So the motors I've selected are these RC in power. They are 12025 and 6000 kV. Next, we can take a look at our receiver. I wanted to do this build pretty much as cheap as I could. This is a FreeSky receiver. This is an XM Plus. Props, I got some different props, HQ props, and these are gem fans. We'll test them both out and see how they do. These are 2.5-inch props to fit our 2.5-inch frame. Next up here is our VTX, our video transmitter. This is a Flywoo Goku 625. It is capable of, I think, 25 to 400 milliwatts of output power. Next up is our camera, so we can see where we're flying. This is Foxeer, obviously. This is the Foxeer Razor Nano. It is the 16:9, hopefully, is what I wanted. This is gonna be our camera we're using. And we got batteries. I got 2 of these. These are these are all 3S. I got 2 of these Tattoo 450 milliamp hour 3S batteries. These are GNBs. These are 300 milliamp hour. This is kind of an extra. So because we are running analog, I don't have goggles that do DVR. So I bought this in hopes that if I did want to specifically film something or film a flight or whatever, that I do have that option. And maybe we can hook this up and record some footage. We got a product from Beta FPV. So this right here is the F405 20 amp toothpick brushless flight controller. This is the V4 gyro, and it's a BMI 270, and it's running BL Heli 32. Oh, it's beautiful. Okay, so with all the parts out of the way there, we know what we got. Let's go ahead and get started with the build. Okay, so we've got our board here. A couple things I'm gonna do right off the bat. I didn't know, but this comes with these plugs for your motors. Now, I'm not gonna be using motor plugs because, well, my motors don't have plugs on them. They are just wires. So I'm gonna be directly soldering them on. But as far as mounting this on the frame and having it soft mounted, this USB port here is going to go through the board, but those motor plugs are going to be touching the frame right there. There's not enough room, and of course you want to soft mount it. So I'm not using those. So what I've found that I can actually do is actually just kind of break them off, which sounds horrible, but that's what I'm gonna do until they just kind of break off, because I'm not gonna use them. Of course, you wanna be careful with this, so I can easily soft mount this. So we're just gonna break these off. Boom. Now, the bottom's nice and flat. I'll try to zoom in. There's 3 pads here. One is DSM, and there's the middle pad, and then one is S-Bus. And it came with the DSM to the middle pad soldered. It looked like almost like a resistor or something, but those were bridged. And in the diagram, if you're using an S-Bus connector like I am, the XM Plus, it wants you to bridge the solder pads from S-Bus here to the center pad. So that's what we got to do now. Yeah, there we go. That is the perfect bridge. Okay, that took a minute. That took actually, we have the perfect little bridge right there next to my finger. All right, so one of the easier spots that we can solder here is the VTX. Might be hard to see, but there is a 5-volt ground, an RX, and a video. We'll see a ground, a 5-volt, and an out, which is a video out. Pre-tin our pads here. Sometimes you'll get solder bridge. Okay, real quick, I just had to mention this because it's something I messed up on later in the video. There is ground, 5-volt out, which is video out. Next to that is in, video in from the camera, and then next to that is T6. Now, in order for your video transmitter to talk to, communicate with your flight controller, you need it soldered to a UART, and I didn't have that. It's actually a 4-wire setup, and then I couldn't get my VTX to work in beta flight. It wouldn't show up. So just to tell everyone now that you do need that 4th wire, that UART, the RX that goes to a TX on your flight controller. That way they can communicate and you can set up your VTX in beta flight. Just between the pads, like a 5-volt and the ground. Don't worry about that. You'll just take your soldering iron and just kind of grab it and swipe off where the bridge is, and it'll just pull it right off, and you'll have your perfect tinned pads there.
So if you actually go to...
Okay, now we got a 5-volt, our ground there. Sorry, ground is good. I'll try to move this up so we can see what we're doing. And our 5-volt.
But for now, we're nitpicking.
Okay, we're gonna do video out.
What's happening with this? Whichever.
Okay, video out's good. And then on this same side, we actually have our video in for our camera. So we're gonna grab our, we'll grab our camera here. And it comes with some wires. Video in. Boom, video in is done.
Props in view a little bit lower, it's not so predominant. It usually
the whole video system hooked up. As I said before, on this side we've got black ground, 5-volt is red, and our yellow is our video out of the board to the video transmitter. This cable here, which has a plug on the end, is for our camera. The red or the yellow here is our video in from the camera to the board. That way you have the OSD overlaid in your goggles. And over here, we have our 5-volt ground on the other side because we didn't have 5-volt ground here. So real quick, I'm gonna solder on this lead here. This is a little cable for the RunCam thumb camera, and it just is a 5-volt ground. I'm gonna solder that on and just kind of leave it on the quad, and then if I want to film, obviously I can just plug it in and go from there. Okay, so we've got our lead here on soldered on for our RunCam thumb.
And the cool thing about that is there may be other cool things. But I am getting some flex. Of course, I've seen a number of frames with a lot more flex. Let's grab these other frames while I'm here. This is of course camera. That price comes in at $269.
We've got our XT30 lead on there, our wires for our VTX, our wires for our camera, and extra wires for an HD camera. So now we need to solder our VTX to these 3 wires here. The camera has a plug, and then we can get started on, I think the motors are next. We're getting there.
Bounce back, and there was some controllability in the fact that it was just too loose. Basically 3 minutes and 53 seconds, and our battery has recovered again. HGLRC either makes or has.
Okay, so just a reminder again, we have 5-volt ground and video out. We are missing a wire on the VTX from RX to TX on the flight controller so that they can communicate. Here is our XM Plus. Sorry, I lost audio at some point during the video, so I'm having to record this after, but this is our receiver, the XM Plus here. I'm just tinning the pads and then putting our wires on. This is a simple 3-wire setup. It's just 5-volt ground and S-bus, and that goes to the S-bus on our flight controller. So here's the XM Plus all done. It does have a plug that goes onto the flight controller, so that makes it easy.
Okay, so we've got our gummies in our flight controller now. So the screws that it came with weren't long enough. There was screws for the screws that came with the frame, screws that came with the flight controller, and I think the VTX, and none of them were long enough. So I went to Ace Hardware and got these M2 by 12, or I don't know what they are, but they're M2, just like the other ones. Unfortunately, they are flathead on the bottom, but that's okay. I have my receiver as well. My receiver is all soldered up and ready to go. So everything's ready to go. The only thing we're missing now is our motors. So let's get the motors on. Yeah, there's 3 there. There should be 3 here. There's another 3 set there. Those are our motor pads. So I'm gonna tin all those first, and then we'll bolt our motors down, cut our wires to length, and yeah, go from there.
Just to the side. But since we're not going to be using these, we're actually... The video transmitter does not come with its own... I'm just trying to get this little metal piece over the little thing. Extreme amount of stuff.
All right, fantastic. We have all the motors bolted up and tightened down. Now we need to measure and cut our motor wires and solder them on. So if we lay it flat across the arm and then up here like that, and then we kind of press it in and fold it against the board, so you have a little extra slack. And I'm gonna leave extra slack because if you cut them too short, you're screwed. Boom, first ones are cut. All right, so we got all of our motor wires cut, and now we just need to pull some of this insulation off. We need to really tin these wires so that they will solder easier, so we're gonna do that now.
Fingernails, you don't even need to use a tool for the flight controller. The camera, the answer is that it was an analog.
Okay, so that took a while. Everything's tinned, and we're ready to actually solder the motor wires up. So there's 3 pads and 3 wires each on each motor, right? It doesn't matter which wire goes to which pad, because you're gonna change motor direction and whatever in Betaflight. So
I've got a video I made, which is a complete guide to how to, and there's a reason for that, but that's the kind of thing we would go into.
nice.
I'm gonna grab one of these capacitors that they have.
Okay, that one looks good. Here's where we are at now. We have the motors are all soldered. I don't know where I left off. So we have all 4 motors soldered up. We got some tape on them now, so the wires, they look all nice and neat. Now this up here looks like garbage right now, but once the top plate's on, it'll look fine. So our VTX is wired up. This is a power and ground for an external camera like the run cam. This lead here is for our actual FPV camera. Our antenna's on, battery lead, everything's good to go. I forgot one thing, because this is not plugged in. Obviously, we don't have a receiver. There's a plug right there. It's all ready to go. Okay, well, here it is, the complete build. It's all done, all set up. I've already flown it a bunch, and I gotta say, it flies really, really well. I do like these props more, just looks-wise. I just like the color contrast between the red motors and the bright yellow. So I know it looks like a mess in there. I'm not the best at
building. This is my first build. Some of the wire lengths are too long, but we just kind of got a rubber band and strapped it up to kind of hold everything in place in there. I do have some actual flight footage. Now I don't have DVR, so you guys won't be able to see the DVR, but I do have a good amount of footage with the run cam. Here is my 5-inch and this GEP-RC 2.5-inch. So, I mean, it's pretty small. Definitely lightweight. All right, so let's get into the flight footage though. I'll throw that up so you guys can see how it looks. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that footage. Hopefully you enjoyed the video itself. I know it was a long video, but thank you guys for those of you who stuck around and watched the whole thing. If you have any questions about the build or the issues that I had or whatever else, or the parts, let me know in the comments and I will do my best to get back to you with an answer. But yeah, thank you guys for watching and I'll see you in the next video.